More than 500,000 Oklahomans have a disability. Some are obvious. Cerebral palsy prevents Jason Price from walking or having much use of his left hand. Milford Ford is also disabled.
What I have is an internal problem that you don't see it on the outside. My disability, I had high blood pressure, and I have renal failure. And it kind of took me out of the job market. I couldn't work like I used to. I get tired now.
2009 census figures show just under 28% of disabled Oklahomans over the age of 16 have jobs. The Department of Rehabilitation Services helps the disabled and visually impaired overcome barriers to employment.
It's a very unique department because we're actually in the business of creating taxpayers, and that's a pretty cool thing. You know, we actually are an asset to the state and federal government because we take people that were tax liabilities and turn them into tax assets, and we put them on the road to independence.
Price is a prime example.
I grew up in a small western Oklahoma town, population 200, grew up on a farm, lived on Social Security up until Department of Rehab Services helped me go to college and earn my degree and eventually a job.
A job at DRS, where he helps others with disabilities enter the workplace so they too can provide for their families instead of living on Social Security disability benefits.
I can afford a home. I can afford transportation. I can afford to have take my kids to the movies on the weekend, you know, and do the little things that families need to do, and also set the example in my household that you get up and go to work. Select Condi, Tanya.
DRS programs help people get the adaptive technology, training, or education needed to join the workforce. After nearly 3 years of being able to help all clients immediately, DRS is telling all but its most severely disabled new clients they'll have to go on a waiting list for services.
There's a lot more people with disabilities than we have funds to serve them.
DRS uses a tiered system to assess clients. Priority 1, 3 or more significant disabilities and multiple barriers to employment. Priority 2, 1 or 2 severe disabilities that impede employability. While Priority 3 clients have the least severe disabilities, creating barriers to entering or re-entering the workplace. Michael O'Brien is the agency's director.
We closed Priority Group 3 August 15th, and we closed Priority Group 2 a week ago Friday.
The people that need us the most can still be served. If we let those other groups open, probably no one will get served.
Once we close a priority group, typically what happens is people quit applying for services.
And that's the last thing O'Brien wants, because if people don't apply, their priority list can't be assessed. Priority 1s will still be given immediate services. Priority 2s and 3s will go on to a waiting list. And it's important to be on those lists because once the list's open, people will be helped on a first-come, first-served basis. Currently, there are 87 people on the Priority 2 waiting list, 280 on the Priority 3 list.
4 or 5 months from now, I think you'll see those numbers at 400 or 500, maybe 600.
When the economy went down, demand for DRS services shot up.
It was over 3.5 years ago, we were at about 11,000 clients.
Today, there are 19,000 clients. At current funding levels, O'Brien says the agency can realistically afford to help about 17,000 clients a year.
We get roughly $4 federal money for every $1 that the state spends. And we've been fortunate in the last 3 legislative sessions that we've not taken significant cuts like other agencies. They've tried to keep us fully funded to keep our full federal match.
But that money only stretches so far. So until either the funding goes up or the client load comes down, Priority 2s and 3s will be waitlisted. And those on the waiting list have few other options because most of the other programs out there are for very specific groups like Native Americans or disabled veterans. Workforce Oklahoma can help with job placement assistance, as can Social Security's Ticket to Work program, administered through employment agencies like Employment Resources. It's helping Ford rebuild his career, which he says builds much more.
It builds your self-esteem because you feel like you're doing something. Because when you don't do nothing, you feel that you get depressed and you start thinking about what were you before everything happened to you.
However, Workforce Oklahoma and agencies like Employment Resources can't do as much for a disabled job seeker as DRS.
We don't provide the equipment. We don't provide the education. We don't provide any health care or health-related. The funding through the Ticket to Work program is strictly to help people find jobs.
Which means many disabled people will have to wait until DRS reopens their priority category before they'll be able to get help to get a job.